Hey everybody, welcome back. It's The Binding of Isaac. Have you heard of this game? Jeez. Came out of nowhere 6 years ago. Hey, we're back. We're playing... Did we not just do an Eve run literally in the last run? Let's do the rare Northernlion goes to check. So this would be this episode right here. Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus, where... playing pretty well. This guy sounds like a freaking idiot. Good, but we've also... No, it was Judas last run. It was 2 runs ago in which we had that Eve run. Anyway, here's our seed. FMFA. Oh, just fudge my fudging apple. What did you think I was going to say? 3L4G. You ever get 4G on your telephone these days? I don't know where I'm going with this bit. We have LTE. Like everywhere in Vancouver. When I went home, a couple of places, I know it's the indignity, but I got 4G, and I'm like, why are these GIFs loading very slightly more slowly? This is an outrage of the highest order that I can't possibly comprehend. It's a doubled item room. I don't know how long. I think because... You know, Isaac has got a lot of mechanics to learn, alright? And a lot of it is like edge case, banal minutia, like, oh, once every 100 item rooms you get a choice of items, and once every 300 item rooms you get 2 items guaranteed. That I looked at this and I said, which one of these 2 would I rather have? When in reality I should have looked at it and said, sweet, 2 items that are both kind of not that good. It might seem like I'm coming across negatively here. That's not my intention, you know? I'm not... intending to be a negative person here. When you get 2 items, I'll admit, Little Gertie is not that bad. Shows off the physics engine of the game to the highest possible order, obviously. And beyond that, the run is actually fine because, you know, first off, 2 items, even if they weren't that good, that's better than average. And, oh, I bet we can sneak that in there. He goes over top of the rocks. We got a spectral Gertie. Dude, that's actually, like, probably not worth that much, but still interesting to think about. On a room like this, normally you gotta, you know, really get your hands dirty. Now, mind you, the real problem is that Gertie does, like, next to no damage, but... Oh, he almost had it. He's mad. Are you, like, sincerely? I just need you to actually... murder anything at all, really? Okay, you guys are all in a line. This is perfect. Just get low. Win on the flow, so let the kids know when I bust parental discretion is a must. That's little known from Straight Outta Compton. Straight Outta Compton, it's a weird album. Because everybody remembers, you know, the obvious ones off of it, you know. Forget the police coming straight out the underground, and then various other lyrics I wouldn't deign to say on the show. Okay, I like that a lot. I would love to get some bombs here, but it also has, like, and of course, F the police. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking, I said F the police twice. There's also Straight Outta Compton, in which, again, Ice Cube threatens to eat a police officer, which is, like, a far cry from where he exists in his career at this day and age in the 20X Jump Street movies. But anyway, down to the next floor. There's also some weird, like, late 80s, early 90s, like, Salt and Pepper style dance club bangers attempted on there. It's really, like, a strange menagerie of cultural aspects from that time period. Anyway, I don't know. I was, like, 2 when it came out, so what do I know about the time period? Obviously, we're going to be using the Razor Blade, now that we've gotten a little bit more HP. The run is starting to pop. I never, I think, internalized that Eve has 2.63 damage if you don't get Whore of Babylon to pop. It basically sets you back, like, 1 extra damage upgrade from where you would like to... Oh, that's going to hurt. From where you would like to be most of the time. On a spawn, is what I mean. So... it would be swell if we could, you know, mix this situation up a little bit. It also might be nice if we could get, like, a single bomb. I do want to use the Razor Blade, but I kind of want to save it until a room that warrants it, and I think this room warrants it. If we play our cards right, we might be able to use High Priestess to get that tinted rock, but there's also an explosive champion here regardless, so if we can just, like, kill him last, or at least kill him in a productive fashion, I'll be happy with that. Come on. It's like we're not behind schedule or anything like that, but it's a weird start just in terms of, like... Oh my god, dead bird screwed me. It's a weird start just in terms of, like, the lack of pace at which we can kill these enemies. Kind of, like 1,000,000% my own fault for starting at... Or for keeping myself below the Whore of Babylon state, but so be it. Acid Baby. Merely okay. Anyway, I thought I've been grasping at tangents here. I've been trying to figure out, you know, what I'm going to talk about in these episodes. There's no planning, surprise, surprise, that goes into these Isaac episodes. I kind of like to figure it out on the fly, you know? It's very much like the way I approach it from a philosophical standpoint, which is a word that is way too large for the, you know, manner of situation in which we're discussing here. Let's go back for that tinted rock. Is like a natural, organic conversation, you know? I like to tease some threads out and then see how they look and feel after you talk about them for a minute. I went to the movies last night. This is a true story. I know it's hard to believe, but I went to the movies last night. Oh, what'd you see? Advanced screening of Spider-Man Homecoming? Nope, not that important. Like, I'm not important enough to get the radio station to give me free tickets to that, I promise you. Yeah, we can make do with taking that. It's not the way we should have done it, but it's not a huge deal. And both of these are great. Oh, so you saw Baby Driver, right? No, I should have gotten I Can Fly after that. No, I didn't see Baby Driver. Wonder Woman, then. You've been talking about seeing it, you know. You've said some not-so-nice things about the DC Cinematic Universe, and now you're gonna, you know, finally give them a chance. Nope, that's, you're assuming I'm a bigger person than I actually am. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which has been in theaters for, like, 2 months, but we finally saw it. And we're kind of like... I wouldn't say we're Marvel super fans. Like, sometimes I go to the Marvel Studios subreddit, which is the subreddit for all things Marvel, and I go, I don't know what these people are talking about. Whenever any good news happens, everyone goes, praise Feige! And I go, alright, so I know that he's like the executive producer on these movies, but I didn't know he was like the brainchild. You know, he's like the Jay Bennett from the Yankee Hotel Foxtrot era of Wilco. See, that's a reference that as I was making it, I was like, this is not gonna really be that universally understood. And that's my fault. That should have been a more accessible reference. It's like, that one guy from the Hold Steady with the mustache, and then he left the band, they came out with another album, and you're like, it's just not quite the same without the roaring piano kicks. That might even be less of an accessible reference. I'm sorry, I'm trying to work backwards here. Anyway, but I like the Marvel movies. I understand why people turn up their nose at them, because to some extent they're very safe, but they're also like, I don't know, I kind of see the Marvel movies as like a sports car. It is like, whenever I watch it, at this point, and this is how you know I'm too old to be into superheroes, I don't watch it and go like, ooh, I wonder how they're gonna put Thanos in this upcoming movie. I watch this and I go, oh my god, who were the project managers on this? Because this is like a $400 million project with people who are at like the height of their careers. Like, we're not just talking, I think we can't get over there. Wait a minute. No, I do have empty vessel, I just need to lose HP to make it work. That's correct, okay. You know, we're not just talking actors. We're talking special effects. The agents of the actors. Caterers. You know, working with the people at the studio lots and stuff like that. There's a staggering amount of administration that goes into making a movie like this. And then, beyond that, the actual, you know, talent... It's just a staggering project to kind of conceive of. So I watch it, and there's a scene where there's like... this is not a spoiler, but the opening scene of the movie is effectively like an action set piece with a soundtrack from the 1970s over top of it, and like there's huge CGI that's happening up close and personal, and then also more of it happening in the background. And I'm like, this is like incredible, just on a logistics level. That you basically spent like probably like 20 to 30 million dollars. Well, I don't know that, let's be honest, but you spent upwards of several $1,000,000 on what is effectively like 90 seconds of entertainment. That's incredible. Like, and also the movie itself was pretty okay. I gotta be honest, it's probably the least I've enjoyed a Marvel film. People, by the way, I hate they say gotta be honest before giving their opinion. It's not like, you know, I'm assuming that I'm right. I know a lot of people really like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but a lot of people have the same criticisms that I'm about to say. It's probably the least I've enjoyed a Marvel Studios film since maybe, I don't know, like the Avengers 2 or Ant-Man, which I both also thought were like pretty good, but certainly not quite like Civil War level, Logan level, of course. But anyway, the point is, I thought it was pretty good, but that's about it. I think I'm going to stick with the razor blade, because let's be honest, Krampus's head is just sort of boring at this point. But there's more to this theater story. First off, the movie's been in theaters for like 7 weeks. We went and saw a 10/10 show. That's pretty late, although I guess, you know, school's out and we live in a major city, relatively speaking. Oh, you think Vancouver's a major city? Well, I live in Kowloon Walled City in downtown Hong Kong, and I'm okay. See, like, I'm trying to nip the armchair, you know, demographic studies in the back here, or in the bud, I should say. Theater was packed. Unbelievably packed. You know, even the people were sitting in the front rows. I was amazed. It was cheap night. Tuesdays, it only costs you an arm to go see it. Wait, let's do that in the Jay Leno voice. Hey, Kevin, did you hear that they're instituting cheap nights at AMC theaters across the country? Oh, yeah, Jay? Yeah, turns out if you want to go see a movie on Tuesdays, it'll just cost you a leg. A leg. Allora. Okay, you get the idea. Packed, and then also I saw one of the. Well, let me turn this into a bit. So I immediately, when I walk into a movie theater, I look for my nemesis, and I found them, but they weren't nemesis, they were nemeses because there were two of them. It was two guys, and I'm gonna be honest. You look like, oh my god, that's a nasty. I'm excited. You look like my kind of demographic. Like you look like there's a decent. You probably don't watch me. But you probably look down on people that watch Markiplier. That's what I'm saying. Just from a numbers standpoint, you probably have absolutely no idea who I am, and that's fine. But you look like the kind of people who would know something about what's going on with YouTube. You're the kind of people who would be like, hey, did you see, like, you know, Sip's video last week? And that's not meant as a shot at all. Better content creator than myself. I'm not taking Epic Fetus. That's tempting. So if you do know who I am and you hear this, recognize that my entire purpose in life is to turn social slights that are minor into bits that, you know, spin them out to be a little bit more major. So everybody gets their turn on the guillotine. No one more so than myself. But anyway, they were sitting right next to us, and when we were walking up to get to our seats, the Star Wars Episode 8 trailer was playing. And as soon as the music went down, and they went, as soon as the Lucasfilm splash came up, and it goes, they really loudly went, oh, it's Spaceballs 2, and then they laughed like Beavis and Butthead, and then the other one that was with him said, may the Schwartz be with you, and I said to myself, man, you guys are way too much like me when I was 19, and as a result, I hate you. But those guys ended up being like a mini boss. I didn't even realize. They watched the movie relatively quietly. They were having a fun time, and I don't begrudge them their nice date together. See, that was a joke that was steeped in ignorance, but at the same time, it felt good to say. Ah! Now, you can have a man date. There's nothing. That's what governments get all the time, apparently. But what I'm trying to say here is then there's a lady dead center of the theater. Primo seat, right? We gotta show up early so we can get those seats. She's on her cellular telephone during the trailers. Not okay in my book, but I'm not a monster. I recognize that the trailers are not the movie. You might have some, circumstances in your life that warrants you being on the telephone for an extra minute or two. Maybe you're like, hey, I gotta go to the movie starting, like, text me when you land, or something like that, or, let me know what the doctor says. These are important texts that can happen. Life finds a way, right? Marvel Studios logo comes up, lights dim, Cellular telephone's still on. You know, the actors are engaged in a little bit of a flashback scene. We're 2 minutes into the movie. Cellular telephone's still on, like bright, and in the middle of the theater. And then somebody just tapped her on the shoulder. It got to the point, it was like 5 minutes into the movie. She's like 12 rows up from me, I just want to point out. It was not my responsibility. Somebody else was closer. But, oh, that's gonna hurt. Somebody just tapped her on the shoulder, and I can only imagine that they said, are you out of your, effing mind? Just put the phone away, you psycho? And then she put the phone away. But she did look back after that as if to be like, I'm gonna remember your face. Honestly, if we had thrown down in that theater, if we had been drafted into the United Nations Army, and they're like, hey, we're gonna ship you off to Pyongyang right now, I would have been like, I want that guy to be my commanding officer. I don't know anybody else in this freaking theater except for the Schwartz guys, but at the same time, by the way, clever joke. Wow, isn't Star Wars like Spaceballs? I remember the first time I heard that in the movie Spaceballs, which was, deliberately designed to be a parody of the Star Wars. It's very, everybody's aware of Spaceballs. Now, if you had been like, oh, I hope Reb Brown's in this one, I would have been like, you know what? These are my people. And then also, don't go for the long laugh. Like, you don't have to yell your joke. If your joke's good, just let it blossom there for you and your friend. You're there for your friend, okay? You're not there to be comedians for the whole theater. Again, this movie costs... No, it's not necessary. This movie costs like $400 million to make. How, you paid $10 to be in here? Who do you think I'd rather listen to? The May the Schwartz be with you guys, or the team of writers who have gotten like 14 consecutive over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes? I'm not saying that necessarily means they're the greatest filmmakers of all time, just that, I didn't buy a ticket to two 19-year-old dudes crack jokes. Anyway. But they're still only the second worst people in the theater, and they seem to have a good time without irritating anybody else, which I appreciate. At least after the trailers. In the trailers, dude, that's like, we have this thing in Canada called the Young Offenders Act, at least in Ontario, which is basically like, as long as your crime's not particularly heinous, your crime's like, vandalism or something like that, or, minor assault. If you're under the age of like 17, you can't be charged for it. I don't know if we should even take this HP at this point, but I'm gonna. We still have 2.63 damage, unfortunately. Wait, I still have Razor Blade. Why? I've gotten too off on this tangent here. Wow, what a bummer. But the point is, no, I don't have Razor Blade. I got rid of it for Guppy's head. That's right. The point is, the trailers are the Young Offenders Act of the movie theater behavior laws that I will plan if you vote me in. It won't be eligible for 2020, maybe like 2034, assuming we don't end up on an odd year election cycle for whatever reason. 2034, and yes, I am talking about the American leadership after Canada takes you over, which any day now. But the point is, as long as you're not yelling or like defecating yourself during the trailers, no problem. Doesn't bother me. Once the movie starts, that's where we enter, like, should be quiet as a mouse. Except to laugh. And even then, you can't laugh too loudly. Alright, it's Skype Corner. What do we got? Oh, Bear Taffy's talking about dead cells. So I don't know if it's not like it's sensitive information, but Bear said he's had these like 15 to 20 minute Dead Cells episodes he's had trouble posting because they're bad. And I'm not saying that because I think they're bad. I'm saying that because he told me that. But I can relate to that. I've had a lot of Dead Cells episodes I had to can because I did poorly, but it's the problem. It's not a huge problem, by the way. Terrible damage. Don't talk to me or my damage ever again. We're not taking that. We gotta get to the Whore of Babylon state because it's getting ridiculous here. Somehow we're still gonna make boss rush. Whether or not we want to is another thing that remains to be seen. I mean, that told me everything I think I needed to know about the straw there. It didn't even kill those flies in one hit, so I'm not interested. Although I do like it, mostly. I don't think it's a huge problem with Dead Cells game design, but... well, if it is a problem with Dead Cells, it's a problem with a lot of roguelites. Let's put it that way. But you either, like... A lot of your run success is based on how quickly you can get decent equipment. And the same goes for Isaac, you know? Most of the losses that I get in Isaac are, well, yes, sure, that horrifying room. Yeah, why not? That horrifying room with all the TNT that I guess you're just supposed to walk directly straight down in as soon as you see it, and then you will not die, which is very nice. But then it's like, I firmly believe that in almost every Isaac seed, like literally in 99% of Isaac seeds, there's a win nestled in there. And probably even more than 99%. And I'm not using 99% as a shorthand. I'm genuinely thinking, like, there might be 1 in 100 Isaac runs that if you got, like, God mode enabled, you would get to the end of the run and be like, there's no way you could win this one. Occasional, like, super train wreck happens, admittedly. Well, we might not make boss rush, actually. But, most of the losses that I have lately, at least, happen because we just don't get to that point fast enough. I almost want to just take Blue Candle, because our damage is so bad. We're gonna get a deal with the devil, but if it's Krampus, we could go, like, 3 floors without getting another deal with the devil. If we ever get one, actually. If we get Krampus right here, we're not guaranteed another deal. And then we need 3 hearts of deals out of it anyway, so it's... I'm not gonna say it's unlikely it'll happen, but it is potentially likely it won't happen. But Hematemesis actually helped me out a great deal there. But Dead Cells is exactly the same. If you can get like a couple of early scrolls and give yourself HP upgrades, and then you get equipment that's not terrible, you're kind of off to the races, but... most of the time, anyway. I'm also far from a Dead Cells expert, but once we crack the code... well, once we crack the code, they released a new update that, you know, scrambled the Enigma machine again. That's why you're not supposed to let them know that you cracked the code. Haven't you seen The Imitation Game? Starring Marvel Studios' own Benedict Cumberbatch? Great movie. Oh, this is really good. Okay, so start like this. We're gonna give up some spirit hearts here, and I think it's totally worth it. Still totally worth it, especially with 9 lives coming up. There we go. Potato peeler. So... alright, we're gonna miss boss rush. Oh no, boss rush stays open, I think. We want to make sure that we're in the Whore of Babylon state. So first, we're gonna take the nail and use it. And then we're gonna take this. No, first I'm gonna take this. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but we'll pay spirit hearts for this. Because then it gives us an easy play of potato peeler to get us to a 2nd level of that. Then I think we'll go with the nail. Boss rush did not stay open. I was incorrect. But still an interesting turn of events there. Sure, we could have used potato peeler a little bit more frequently if we died a lot, and I do like that, but... If I have tricked you into thinking that this run is great, I have done myself a disservice, because it is still kind of a little wonky. Not saying it's a loss. It actually looks more and more like a win, you know, with each passing floor here, which is the way you want it, but it's certainly, I don't think it's a guaranteed win. I mean, we got 6.26 damage. And like a quarter of our damage upgrades are accounted for by the freaking potato peeler of all things, so... come on. Come on. Well, the spirit heart pays for us to be here at least. And infested, you know, it gives us a little bit of love. I'm somewhat passionate about movie theater etiquette. Because there's no excuse... there was an excuse when I was younger. Not that I've always been pretty well behaved in theaters. You know who hasn't always been well behaved in theaters? Michael A.L. Fox. I'm not gonna blow him up too much, but he's been a movie theater talker from time to time. Not always, but in specific situations. Movie theater talker, and we had to, you know, tap him on the shoulder and be like, yo, dude, come on. You're gonna... because that reflects poorly on all of us. Like, you're judged as a group. If somebody in your group is talking to you... both people are gonna get judged, and perhaps rightly so, you know, it keeps people in line. Anyway. But now, you know, movies come out digitally so quickly, and there are other means to watch them, and also just like, everybody knows that, I don't know, like every time I see someone with their phone out checking a text in the movie theater, I'm tempted to be, well, I'm not tempted anymore because I'm older, but, you know, it'd be like, you know, I'm gonna blow up your spot right now. I'm a mid-tier YouTuber. I could get you judged in the court of public opinion. The main thing stopping me is that, A, that doesn't adhere to my ideal of justice, which is, you know, you're innocent until proven guilty and everybody deserves clemency and mercy up to a point. And the other one is that I know as soon as I did that, I would be the guy who's like, put your phone away. And then they'd be like, my mom's in the hospital, you dick. It's just the 28th Marvel movie that's come out this year. What's so important? And I'd be like, okay, you know what? You got a good point. I lost sight of the more important things in life, and I apologize as a result of that. It would reflect badly on me, is what I'm trying to say. Well, dude, we just did not get a deal with the devil here. We're now, I mean, the speed upgrade is fine. 6.26 damage is not gonna be anything to write home about. The real danger of this run right now is that I'm so small thanks to these, you know, meme pills, that I can't easily see when I take damage, and as a result, especially with Curse of the Unknown like we had on the last floor, I had no idea how much damage we had taken. Anyway. Oh, jeez. Like, that was a bad example, because I shouldn't have been there in the first place. Thanks for the half spirit heart, though. Much appreciated. But I don't know, I guess it's like a rite of passage. I feel like, how often, if I'm gonna make the assumption, and this is a broad assumption, but I'm gonna make the assumption I am not that normal person when it comes to this issue, and you are maybe a normal person. That applies to everybody listening to this. How often do you get annoyed with other patrons when you go to a movie theater? Because for me, it's actually like, I'd say at least 75% of the time, I leave the theater being like, the movie was good, but some of the people were jerks. Like, it was 2 years ago, but we saw Mad Max, and we had, assigned seats. Because, you know, well, we're guppy, so we win. We had assigned seats, so, you know, the whole point of having assigned seats is if you're like me and you want to avoid having to look for a seat, you just get an assigned seat, and then you go, oh, this is my seat, I'm gonna sit here. And, like, we sat down in our assigned seats, and then these people sat down next to us, and we're like, is anybody sitting here? And we were like, do you know what theater you're in? Because this is assigned seats. And they're like, you know, well, we'll just wait and see if somebody comes here, because these seats are pretty good. And then they pull out, like, a bottle of wine from their backpack, and just start, like, passing them back and forth between them. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a completely innocent individual who may or may not have done similar things during his college days, but on the other hand, you know, wait till you're in your regular seats, because then during the trailers, the people whose seats it was came back, and we're like, hey, those are our seats. And they're like, oh, dude, we misread our tickets, sorry. Oh, you're here in 41J? You know, you get the idea. We don't want any of this, who cares? I don't really want to fight Hush with 4 HP either. That's like the only way we could ruin this run. So that's one example, but it's not that bad. You know, people always say, like, I don't like to watch kids' movies in the theater because I don't like watching movies with toddlers, basically. I saw Finding Dory opening day, and that was a very pleasant movie-going experience. Did kids go like, woo, you know? Yeah. It's a freaking kids' movie. It's like, I want to go on the roller coaster, but I don't want anybody to shout. I just want to experience the thrill of the G-forces as the artist intended. Like, that's snobby and kind of ridiculous to me. The worst people in theaters, I'm saying this as somebody who recently matriculated out of that era. Well, that's not true. The worst people in theaters are just jerks. I'm not going to ascribe an age group to it, but I will say the era in which most of my friends were the most jerkish in movie theaters was definitely like between the ages of 18 and 25. And alcohol may have been a factor in a lot of those situations. But now I live in Vancouver, so instead of alcohol, it's probably cannabis. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or either for that matter. But, give me a kids movie with kids in the theater over, like, a Marvel movie like 2 days after opening night. Because if you're packed in, if you're in the movie like and you're full of the comic book fans that are there, they bought the tickets in advance. They woke up at like 4 a.m. to line up for it. That's a cool experience. That's a good environment. It's like being first in line for PAX or something like that. I can understand that if you're into it. Like 3 days later when people are like, I don't really care about Spider-Man, but let's go see Spider-Man. And then they start singing along with the Spider-Man theme song or something. Get that out of here. Guess what I'm getting at? Like, it's the same with airplanes, dude. People always are like, life's hard. By the way, you're supposed to drop the left hand before you come here. That's my bad to an extreme degree. But I'm in full tangent mode because we're gonna win this run fairly easily. So at this point, it's like let's get over it. By the way, I am entering like the minus realm, clearly. But when there's like a baby on the flight. The first couple of times I flew when there was a baby behind me, it's like, oh, there should be a special airline just for babies, because they cried for the whole 45 minutes of my flight from Burbank to Los Angeles. It was crazy. Now I have sympathy. I have sympathy for the mother, because the mother is like, everybody on this flight's judging me for having a baby, and I have sympathy, or the father for that matter. It shows my antiquated ideals, I guess. Then I also have sympathy for the baby, because the baby is like, I don't know anything, and like my ears are popping, and I'm traveling at 700 kilometers an hour right now. Like, baby's brain doesn't understand what's going on there. Of course it's gonna cry. Some adults cry on airplanes, and they go like, I don't want to be here. It's actually not me for once, but, well, it depends, if I'm watching Toy Story 3, I'll consider it, but the people I get annoyed with on airplanes nowadays are adults who are like, there's no rules in the sky. I'm just gonna take my shoes off. Like, on my flight to Ontario, I sat next to a dude who was like 80, and it's not his fault he's 80, but I was actually just amazed. First off, shoes off the whole flight. Okay, I mean, I've talked about this on the NLSS. I don't respect that. I don't think you should have to wear a suit to fly, but I think you should at least keep your shoes on because it traps the odor. And if you go like, oh, my feet don't stink, then I'm like, okay, first off, probably wrong. It's like the people in that most recent NLSS discussion who were like, I don't brush my teeth and my breath doesn't smell bad. And I'm like, you should get like an impartial observer to tell you that. Then I'll believe you. If I can hire an arbiter, then I will believe whatever they say, even if it flies in the face of like 100 years of dental hygiene advances. But anyway, plus this dude is 80. Everything smells when you're 80. I'm 28. Some of my stuff's starting to smell, and I'm like, it shouldn't smell. I showered recently. Mother Nature doesn't care. Okay, it's just the way it is. I just shaved my ear hair the other day. I'm 28 years old. To give you some idea. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I got like Woody Allen's hair from Annie Hall coming out of my ears. Anyway, I digress. Shoes off the whole flight. For about an hour straight. First off, you looked at the map the whole flight. We don't have time to go off on this tangent. I don't like it, though, because it's like leaving the clock very visible the entire school day. You want the clock to be invisible so you forget about the passage of time, and thus it gives you the perception of landing faster. And first off, also, it's a 5-hour flight, dude. You're just gonna stare at the map for 5 hours? Regardless. The second thing is, at one point, this man is like an octogenarian, septuagenarian at best. He put his feet up on the seat, the back of the seat that was in front of us, like he was in stirrups at the gynecologist's office, and then put his head between his knees. I was like, this is a yoga, I guess he's just called a yogi at that point. He looked like a normal 80-year-old. He got into like the full lotus pose. He spread himself open like a flower petal. I was stunned, but also at the same time I was like, you should know better. When a kid goes like, Mommy, the airplane smells like fire. I'm like, that kid's an idiot. If they took an adult level IQ test, they would get like double digits, right? I'm not trying to insult them. It's just, you're all right. You're okay to be an idiot if you're 8. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're 80, put your shoes on, There's other people around you. Anyway. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I give it like a 7.5. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.